So here we are. We'll have a chat. We'll have a chin wag about nothing. See what happens.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hiya. Oh, hi, Karen.
Hiya. I wanted to ask, like, what's the difference, like, when the me is like collapsed and fallen away, and what it is that carries on? Like, because things carry on, don't they? Apparently, like with likes and dislikes, but it's without
Mm,
that. So, like,
yeah.
what is the difference between having like a me energy carrying on and a no me energy carrying on?
Yeah, yeah. It's just impossible to describe. That's the thing. It really is because you have to consider that there is no individual at all to begin with either. So it's an appearance. So it's the same and then it's different. So I mean, your question is about the difference.
Yeah.
It's totally impossible to describe. There's just what's appearing to happen as opposed to what's really happening, and it's happening to me. So
Mm.
it's all energetic. It's just this energetic sense that things are really happening and they're happening to me. So there's this like neurosis to things because everything relates back to me, and there's a kind of stickiness to, it's me that hears, it's me that sees, it's me that feels, it's me. So there's that's relating, um but to describe it in words is just completely impossible. Like, I mean, you can't, like, if somebody um appears to fall away and they come on a Zoom, as they have done on this and other speakers, and what they'll say is, I can't tell you now what happened, I can't describe it, I just can't even begin to describe it, because it's just nothing happened. It's just the natural reality, you could say, is there's just what's appearing to happen. Whereas when
But
you
obviously,
feel that's a
there
you,
must
there's
But like obviously there must be that sort of that stickiness, that neurosis is not there. So that is like a difference, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's there is and there isn't a difference. There is and there isn't. Yeah, there's an indescribable difference, and yet nothing has happened because the individual was like an overlay anyway. It was like an additional software that wasn't even really real. Um, it's it's indescribable. It's so simple. There's just what's appearing to happen, and everything is full on aliveness as opposed to living in the real for the individual. So it's like a half alive when I'm alive, because I'm in a subject object reality. There's me, and there's a subject, me, the individual, and there's everything else. Like you now, Karen, would be an object, a person, the computer, everything is something. So there's living in the real. Then when that sense of me isn't there, there's just what's appearing to happen. There's just energy, carrying, computering. So everything is nothing, nothing is everything.
I've heard like sometimes things explained like it's like when the me has fallen away, there's still this automatic pilot thing, you know, that the body likes and dislikes, and
Oh yeah,
you
but
know,
none of that has anything to do with you anyway, really. Like, your likes and dislikes are
I
yeah, so there's still, of course, there will be all, like, much of it will remain the same. Much of it will remain the same, but the difference, like, I don't know, it would be different for everyone too, so someone, say, who had a very strong religious belief about themselves and the world, and then that kind of dictated everything in their lives, the way they should live, the way other people should live. They structured everything around that.
yeah,
They
yeah,
did religious practices. They, I don't know, just randomly picking something. And if that all fell apart, then they could, like, objectively appear to be a huge difference for this person, because everything has changed for them, you know? And maybe for
yeah,
someone else, there wasn't that. There wasn't such a kind of strong belief system about how they should be, or others. So it might be much more difficult to see. Um, but I mean, yeah, I mean, everything, you see, the difficulty is really with it, it's just too simple and ordinary. It's not what you think it is. And I can't describe it, and nobody can. It's very simple. Like, if you prefer tea over coffee, or you don't like chocolate cake, you're not going to like chocolate cake, like, or you're still probably going to prefer tea over coffee. It's nothing to do with you. Um, they're just things that appear to happen. And there is already no separate you there. There's nobody there at all. There's just whatever's appearing to happen. So everything will just appear to happen as it did before, but without this second handness to it, without this sense of it being absolutely real. That can't be described. It's trying to describe the difference between um, you feeling everything is real, and you thinking everything relates to you, and everything just being what it is totally impossible.
yeah.
It's just already, like, it's just so simple. Already there is just that sitting, breathing, thinking happens, emotions happen. Then you think that it's you that's thinking, you that's feeling emotions. And then it does get it, like, one contrast is the simplicity of of it, the simplicity of everything being nothing. It simply is whatever it appears as. Whereas when you feel like an individual, it's just infinitely complex, because you're living in knowing. So really, you're not seeing things as they are. There aren't any things, actually, but life isn't seen as it is, because it's seen through this veil of me, and me knows. Then it's in this loop of knowing, and it's in a sense of repetition in time, and seeing objects, and nothing is, you don't see people as they are. Then you see your idea of them, and you see
Mm.
your idea of life. You see, you're living in an abstraction. So if that falls away, that sense of a separate self, then everything is just seen. It's unknowable. It's actually unknowable. It can't be known. It's just simply is as it appears, and then it's what you've previously thought as of being able to know, and different ideas of things are just seen to be just that, just stories. So if your paradigm of how the world is just collapses, and the world, or what everything just is as it is, then it's seen it always was like that. So all of this was just a story that was going on. You should be like this, you should do this, you should do that, that person is bad, that person is good.
Mm.
This is really what happened here, this is what happened here, then. I don't, nobody loves me because this, everybody loves me because this, blah blah blah. It's just all stories, and it's all coming back to this me. It's all going through this sense of a me. So when there is no longer a sense of me, there's just the natural reality of thoughts, wanting a cup of tea instead of a cup of coffee, um, whatever preferences you want to come up with. That's all I can think about what to say about it, really. I can't,
Mm.
I kind of, I open up with it's indescribable, and then I try and describe it, but, there's already there's life Karens, life is Karening. There's no individual
I guess
there.
like sometimes you can build an idea of like the nothingness.
Oh yeah, of
And
course. Yeah, yeah.
like, you can think, oh, I'm nothing now, but then I'm still shouting at somebody for crossing me in the traffic.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, but like
And
there's an
that's
idea
things.
that and there's
Yeah, like
the first idea would be that I would never shout at anybody for nearly crashing into me or cutting me
yeah,
off in traffic. If I fell away, it's the exact same as it's the same as saying if I was enlightened, I wouldn't get angry at stuff like that. And
yeah, yeah.
the Toshi Moshi Kuji Waji Baji, he does never gets never ever, he's just in a complete state of absolute serenity. And it's so
Everything
beautiful.
goes
And
through
and
them.
and I was lucky enough to be in his presence, and I could feel the love from him. And he wouldn't tell that person to fuck off because they nearly, he wouldn't say that. So maybe if I continue with my meditation and my mindful awareness and being in this beautiful present moment, maybe next week when someone cuts me off, I won't flip them the fucking, and then I'll be there. Then I'll be enlightened. Same, it's the same bullshit that goes on. Like, I mean, that's the way people imagine not being an individual is the exact same as the way people talk about becoming enlightened. And one is the gaining of something, and one is the loss of something. And they're the exact same thing, just looking in different directions. It's the same. It doesn't matter whether you think you're gaining or you think you're losing. You can't imagine what it's like to not. And of course, that's totally understandable because what else can the individual do but imagine its absence? That's, of course, that's what's going to happen. And all any speaker can do is continually point out that it's not what you think it is. That's all. It's not, like, it's
Yeah.
amazing. I've had people come on to me and say, I've sat through meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting with you, and I swear to God, you said whatever it was, you won't fall away or whatever it is. I've heard you say that like literally hundreds and hundreds of times. And then boom, I just heard it. And I like I it's I've and I just couldn't hear it. And of course you couldn't hear it because you can't hear it. The individual can't hear it, you know, and can only imagine nothing, like you were saying there, an idea of nothing. Like if you feel like something, you're in the world, you're in the real. That's what I mean when I say living in the real. The individual is living in the real because they feel like an individual, a subject, and everything is an object to me. So everything is real. So the unreal is an idea or a concept that is like, it has to be real, it has to be something, because all you can see is something. So it's a half alive thing living in the real, because actually there is no thing that's real in and of itself. There's something is nothing, and nothing is something. So there's not real and unreal. Think about it simply: non-duality, not two. There's not real and unreal. That's an illusion from the dualistic dream of separation. There's wholeness. So there's not something and nothing. There's not life and death. It's a dream. There's energy, aliveness, wholeness, which is nothing being something, appearing as something. So that's why you can't imagine nothing, because once you try to imagine nothing, you've made something out of nothing. If you think you can
Yeah.
imagine it, all you've got is a concept. So when you're thinking, when you what I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but when you're talking about nothing, that's it. Like, all you can ever come up with is some sort of idea.
So you like a something pretending to be a nothing, or imagining you're nothing. It's not it, is it? It's not, because you're still
No,
something.
yeah, it's not
It,
it. Like, it's not. It can't be. So
yeah,
so you can't imagine what's being shared, what's being suggested.
yeah,
You can't imagine. There's different ways of saying it, but like, you can't imagine your own absence, of course, because you any idea you come up with is just another thing, another idea, another concept. And the amazing thing is that, actually, of course, you don't have to, because you're not there already. So there's immediately just already wholeness, aliveness, whatever, if you want to say oneness. That's all there is already. And it's just as everything, as whatever appears, that's what it is. This is already, people are imagining. No, it's kind of like people imagining. Excuse me, I'm not feeling the best. Sorry for the coughing. um, Imagining eternity. You know, People imagining eternity, trying to imagine eternity, and really what they can come up with is just a really long time. It must be a really, really long time. And it's no time. It's how can it be a really long time? And this is eternity. This is eternal. This is eternity. This is eternal and infinite aliveness. Like, I mean, one of the shocking things about this often for people is just how simple it is, and how it's not what they thought it was. And it's just, oh, okay, there's just what's appearing to happen. And a part of that often is that it is the pain, it is the shitty feeling, it is the confusion, it is the yearning.
yeah.
I
It is
mean,
the
I mean,
boredom
where do you go with that? Where
or
do you go
whatever.
then? There's nowhere to
Yeah,
go. Yeah, there's nowhere to go then. There's nowhere to go. Once that's seen, where do you go then? There's nowhere to go, because whatever is appearing to happen is just aliveness. That's liberation. All there is liberation. It's unknowable. Like, you've probably heard me say that before. It's unknowable. It's unknowable. It's totally unknowable. This is not like it's so immediately now sitting, speaking, sounds, sensations, aliveness. That once I know it, there's a second handness to it, and I really only know it from a sense of separation to it. And that sense of separation, it feels absolutely real. It's not an idea for that feels separate. It's not a thought. It's a lived, energetic sense of feeling that there's I have a life and I'm living my life. So therefore, I'm on the Zoom then, and I'm sitting on the chair, whatever. And then, of course, when it comes to these meetings, of course, that energy of feeling like an individual. That's why I always say, like, just ask whatever you want, or just say whatever. You can't go wrong. It doesn't matter. It does not matter, um, because it's nothing to do with you anyway. And it's the questions are just, the question appears to be question and answer, but there just can be this resonance with the whole sharing. And it's amazing that it just can suddenly it's not there. It's just not there. It's just that sense of me living my life. It's just so obvious. It's just incredibly obvious to nobody that I don't have a life to live. That I'm not there. That sense of separate. I'm just not there, and nobody else is either. Obviously. Anyway, I'm rabbiting on, am I?
No, it's
I always
I
feel I've
I
said too
don't
much.
find it lovely not knowing, the unknowable. It's I don't know, something's lovely.
Oh, it's fucking gorgeous. It's just so amazing. It's terrifying to the individual. To that feels separate. Not knowing is terrifying. It's absolutely to a greater or lesser degree with people, obviously. But the unknown, like I mean, it's so like this is just generally accepted in life. People talk about this all the time. Um, that like not knowing is scary, and it's because that's why, because it's outside of you, like you're in a loop of knowing, so anything that's unknown is really a threat to you. And like living in the unknown or whatever way you want to put it, nobody's doing that, but everything being unknowable is then full on aliveness, because there's nobody who needs to protect themselves from the world that's outside of them, because there is no world outside of them. There is no me in here. And to say that the adventure begins is a major understatement. Like, it's just incredible, because I just have no idea what's going to appear to happen. So all that's kind of secondhand staleness is just gone, and everything is new. I've never done a Zoom before, in a way. Like I have and I haven't. No, and I really mean that. Like I have and I haven't. Like obviously, someone would say, "Oh, this idiot says he's never done a Zoom before," and I found like 100 whatever Zooms on YouTube. I know what you mean, but it's real and it's unreal. It's real in its appearance, but it's just aliveness is nothing being everything, and there's actually it's always new. And that's what's scary to the that feels individual. What I'm saying there is it's very, very scary, really, because it's obviously scary. The idea of me not being there is to that the individual is terrifying. Death.
Hi, Kenneth.
Oh, hi, Laura.
Hi. So when you just described this stayness, so here I feel it's like related to a kind of deep fear. It's like, and therefore somehow it appears as if I have exchanged a form of as an idea of feeling secure in life, and therefore cutting off my and in a way my own aliveness, or this feeling, like the a kind of sort of feeling of being alive. Yes. And
Okay.
when I heard you just speaking about this describing this stale kind of life experience, so to speak, underlying because of feeling as an individual and feeling separate, I could only sense that it's like there's something that is like so deeply afraid of actually being met by life. Yes, and is trying to always, I don't know, dancing around it, so to speak. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the individual just always maintaining its sense of the sense that of themselves and the world outside of themselves. So,
Yeah.
like, if you imagine this bubble of me, it's always just maintaining this boundary and this sense of me, and that I have a life and there's life out there. So that's how
Yeah.
it functions, and then there's a yearning with that and a dissatisfaction with that.
Yes. Yes.
So the difficulty is the individual just wants to keep the apparent individual is not really an individual, but it just wants to keep doing that. That's why you'd often hear me say that I'm not speaking to an individual. I've no interest in the individual whatsoever because the individual can't even hear me. It'll just make something of it. So that's the big paradox, is that when you feel that sense of separation and there's this continual reinforcing of that, actually paradoxically what's really being looked for is your absence.
Mm.
So of course that's absolutely terrifying, because you want to stay in the safety of the known loop of you, which maintains you safe from a world that's outside of you.
Yeah.
So that will continue until it doesn't.
Mm.
And the amazing thing is fear is actually it already. Because
Mm.
fear, if you think about fear is fully alive. Fear is like I remember when I did feel like an individual. I went for a job interview, and I wasn't doing so good at the time, I think. Anyway, it doesn't really matter, but I went for the job, and I remember getting so nervous, and I went for the job, and I actually, I think I did quite well. But I remember, like, the fear is like every cell in my body just was vibrating like this, and it was, you could say it was nervousness, but then the nervousness and the fear, I remember just like it just felt like a full aliveness. I was fully alive, and then it what was remarkable about it was it was a taste of, like, I haven't felt like this in years. I haven't felt like this in years. It's not I didn't feel good or I didn't feel bad, but I just felt fully alive. And that's what, like, the fear, what was singing to me there was, the fear is it.
Mm.
Fear is it, not this sense of, oh, maybe call in sick and don't do the
Mm.
interview, maybe, and then, then you'll be safe. Then you won't have to go through the interview. You won't feel the fear. You won't feel the anxiety, and you'll be safe. Then, that would be the individual kind of rah rah rah.
Mhm.
Um, and then, of course, in the story, Kenneth continued to feel like Kenneth, blah blah blah. And this is only kind of looking back in retrospect, but I'm only saying that, really, that's of no significance whatsoever, and it didn't even really happen, because this is something appearing to happen. But the point about it is everything is it, whereas the individual
Mhm.
would kind of sense that, oh, that's fear, and naturally kind of pull away from that, and that's not it.
Mm. Mm. And what also happens is that when I listen, for example, right now to you, so then there I look same time somehow inside me and check whether I can relate to that or not, or whether it is like, so this is, I think that's already part of this um illusional experience, that I am here able to listen and look the same time inside, how that is like
Yeah, but it doesn't matter though. Doesn't
okay.
matter because, as I was saying earlier, it doesn't matter what the individual think. The individual doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the individual
Yeah.
thinks they do, or what they think or anything. It doesn't matter because the individual's already a story.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the suggestion is, again, it's very simple. You see, it's too simple because you don't have an inside. You know, like even when you said there, I look inside.
Hmm.
You know, it's like, it's, if you think about it even logically, like who looks where?
Yeah.
Because there is no inner or outer, only the
Hmm.
appearance of one, for sure.
Hmm.
It's just so simple. It's too simple. That's the problem.
Mm.
There's just walking in the woods and meeting random strangers and bringing them into the Zoom meeting. Yeah, I'm joking around. You know what I'm saying? There's just whatever's
Yes.
appearing to happen.
Mm. Mm.
Like, I mean, when we talk like this, of course, like there's going to be this is going to be there are no levels, but like on a conceptual kind of level. I shouldn't even say levels because there are no levels, but conceptually, you would feel that there's an engagement with this. You know, of course there is, because there's a kind of it's a discussion, you could say. Like, so there's
Mm.
something being said. There's a kind of like a question answer format and da 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 da. So it can be that like something said is like crystal clear, or kind of really resonates
Yeah.
intellectually or conceptually,
Yeah.
but that's not what this is about though, at all.
Mhm.
At all. It's
Yeah.
not at all about any of that, because if it was about that, then these meetings would be completely different,
Yeah.
because I would be telling
They
you,
would go somewhere, huh?
yeah, it would go somewhere. There'd be somewhere to get to, and I would then, it would make total sense to have a format to this. So I
Hmm.
could do a 12-week course, and I'd say, well, week one is about time, week two is about space and causality, week three is about, and then break down this so-called thing called non-duality into this understandable thing that we could work our way through and then arrive at a logical conclusion. Ah, okay, I get it, I totally get it, but it's not, what, there's nothing to get.
Yeah.
It's not about concept or knowing. Of
Mhm.
course it isn't, because as we were saying earlier, there is no, it's unknowable.
Mm.
It's all energetic.
Mm. Mm.
So
Mm.
that's the thing. Like, I hear this a lot too, for people that they think that, oh, they kind of almost they feel like they're watching themselves, and feel like, oh, the mistake I'm making now is I'm getting what you're saying and I'm thinking this, or and they think that this individual is, they feel they're somehow going wrong with all of this.
Mhm.
And how could you go wrong with anything when you're not there?
Mm.
That also is just another story.
Mm. Yeah. That's like, in a way, for me, and like, to hear this is like amazing message. It's an amazing message because it's never, I never hear that anywhere else. Like, it's such a wow, because it leaves you in a completely open kind of whatever. It's like
Yeah.
completely open, completely open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing to do with you, but it is total open. Yeah, it's absolute boundless, actually.
Yes.
It's so open, it's total boundlessness. And actually what's been said is that all there is actually is
Is
boundlessness.
that Yes.
So that's all there is anyway. It's not just something that's available in some communication through some character in a meeting. It's not
Yeah.
like that. And that's what can be seen is there's no authority, there's no teaching, there's no anything, and everything is nothing and nothing is everything. That's all there is already. But certainly the communication is very different and excuse me, to what you normally hear. And it's an illumination, and the illumination when it's from nobody, and it's that's always the word I land on, is it's boundless. There's a boundlessness to this that nobody can describe. I can't describe it, nobody can describe it, but it's, and then what usually, no, like normally people just retract into knowing. They'll kind of they'll be intrigued by it maybe, or maybe they'll just feel totally confronted by it, and they much rather be in that loop of
Yeah.
me where I know, and so it's too much, it's too much, it's no thank you. And it's totally frightening. It's the end of me, so that's completely terrifying.
Yeah. Thanks, Kenneth.
Thanks, nice to see you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. Hi, yeah.
Oh, hi. Um, I'm having love and hate relationship with this. I feel like before I connected with you, I was like, oh, I love this, and now after connecting with you, I hate this. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's just shocking. Like, I'm just shocked how much I can't listen to you anymore. I can't hear Tony. Like, I'm like, no, this is not, so it's kind of shocking. You've been
You need
saying
to
that, where I was
stop
like,
with the compliments, please. I'm getting a big head
no,
here.
it's like shocking, like how much I hate this.
I
I was
can
like,
only handle
wow.
so much positive feedback in one session.
So it's I'm surprised by how much the mind or me or the separate self hates it, like, because it's like I thought, like, no, this is what this is what it wants, or
Yeah.
this is what it's about. But
Yeah.
it's completely is not about that at all.
No, not
Like,
at all. No. That's so
no.
actually that means that's unconditional love, actually. That's
Mm.
what you described there to me is unconditional love.
Okay, because I was like, wow, it's quite
Because
shocking to.
it's being heard then. It's actually being heard.
Mm.
What I feel that is there was an idea of wholeness and oneness and this thing, and then there was listening to speakers, let's just say speakers, and then what was being communicated started to really, really be heard. And then what you described there is the shockiness, the confrontational nature of it. It's actually being heard, actually, then.
How?
Because
Because he hates it?
yeah, because of course, because the individual wants to be an individual. The individual does not want any part of what's been said here this morning. No part of it. The individual wants to be a better me, a more loved me, blah, 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 blah. So when it first hears this, it thinks of it as a way to, oh, wholeness. That sounds good for me. I think I like a bit of that. I think that would be really good for me.
Until I
And then
connected with you.
then it starts to see, yeah. Then it starts to
Yeah.
see, oh fuck, hang on a second. This is saying there is no me.
Yeah.
So that feels like a me is not going to want anything to do no part of this at all. It can run a million miles away from this. And it is shocking. Yeah, it is it can be extremely confrontational and confronting. I mean, sorry, confronting to that feels separate.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Because I think before connecting with you feel like self-inquiry, or all glimpse, all that thing felt like progressive, because I was progressing.
Exactly.
And then connecting, and the energy was so strong.
Exactly.
And then I was like, oh, I hate this. Like, this is I can't listen to anything. Like, I haven't watched your video before. I was like, oh, so that was very interesting how the separate self was pretending that it's really seeking for this, or it's about this, but it really is not about this at all.
It's gorgeous. What you're saying to me is absolutely so gorgeous. I just love it. It's exactly that's exactly it, though. That's exactly what you said is exactly it. The individual, what they seek is this concept of wholeness. So they're continually feeding this loop of knowing by like those things, those practices, self-inquiry, all of these things. And the reason that those things can feel so energetically, oh, so lovely and everything, is they just seem to kind of fill up this imaginary me for a while. And they continually feed the apparent individual and feed this idea that there's something to get, there's somewhere to get, and I can get there.
Yeah.
So it just continues, and it will be like that till it isn't. So then that's why
Because this feels just, it's here. Like this
Yeah.
is just here. There's
Yeah.
nothing I can add. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can, and it just feels like, oh, I can't progress. Like there's no
yeah, so
improvement
gorgeous.
in
Yeah.
this being, you know? It just
Yeah.
And I was like, no, this is, I mean, I don't even know how I got in the call today. I was like, do I really want to get on or not?
No, well, you
But I
don't.
was like,
You don't, as in you
yeah,
don't.
but
You don't.
something
When I say
did.
you don't, the
Oh,
individual, like I think we said this at the beginning of the meeting, the individual does not want this at all. This wants
yeah,
nothing to do with what's been said here. That's why I'm not speaking to an individual. I am not speaking
yeah,
to an individual you there because I can't see one. There's just wholeness, unconditional
mm,
love as
mm.
that character there. That's all there is. You though I can't even add anything to what you said. I mean, it's just beautiful to me what you said there. You didn't say it, but you're describing perfectly that what the difference between this idea of what you want and then actually what you want is there's energetically what you want is very, very confronting. And the reason it confronts it is that it destroys this idea of what you want, which is really destroys you.
Yeah.
They're not two different things. This idea of what you want and you, as in when I say you, I mean the individual. It's the same energy. Well, maybe one day I'll get there. Oh, I feel the self-inquiries help me. I feel better. I feel more. I feel more in tune with people. I feel, and fair enough. That's what. But it's always still around the next corner. And this, as you say, it's here. But even clearer than that is that there isn't even a here, because there's not a there. It's not even now because there's not a then. It's so much the immediate isness of what appears to be. It's completely unknowable, and if it's unknowable, it's terrifying to the individual who lives in the known. Most people keep well away from this. They very quickly retreat to self-inquiry, spiritual practices very quickly. They really do not like this at all. They do not like being told that they are already unconditional love. They do not want to hear that. They do not want to hear that. They want to hear that some fucking day they might get there. That's what they want to hear.
Yeah.
That's what they want. Please tell me that if I'm a good boy or a good girl and I work really hard, I'll get there. That's what they want.
So what separate self wants, it's not what it really wants. It seems like it's pretending. It's like sort of like putting up this,
Yeah.
it was surprising because I was like, I love, truth and God and all that thing. And I thought, no, this is just an act. Like it was just an
Yeah.
act. Like it was really
Just a
seen. I was like,
story. It's just
yeah,
all
just
just a
a
story.
story. Just,
Like how I would put it is, you think as an individual that what you're yearning for is you getting something.
yeah.
That's totally logical, because if there's something missing and it feels like there's something missing, then I can find it and then I'll be
Mhm.
there. And amazingly, what's being yearned for is a loss. It's not a gain
Yeah.
at all. So it's a complete loss. It's total loss of everything. The idea of God, the concept of God, good, bad, special, not special, all ideas of life, everything is lost, because it's just this what's yearned for, which is just already nothing being everything. And it's a loss of that feels itself separate. It's a loss of me. It's a loss of my life. So then there's just a life. There's just aliveness. So that's how what you yearn for is already the case. It's already whatever's appearing to happen. And that you as an individual, which is an appearance, are continually looking over there. Where is it over there? It's quite a shock that it's a loss. It's not, you really would feel it's about getting something, knowing something, having something, being in a state, being in some sort of a state, having an experience, all of this. It's complete loss. And then in that loss, then it's nothing, that you have nothing, total poverty, don't know anything, don't have anything, and nothing is everything. So that's I mean, that's liberation. And it's very clear.
But I also feel like, I don't know if I want to say that, but it also fear of being that love, you know, like being that embraced, like fully, you know,
Oh yeah,
for who
completely. Yeah, totally. That's too much for the individual. They want to stay in knowing and maintain this idea of itself.
Yeah.
It's completely too much for the end. It's just no. And that could also be about a sense of unworthiness that we have as being separate, and a sense that, okay, what this guy is talking about now, yeah, that's fine, but that's too much for me now, because I'm little old me. I know all my nasty little habits and the shitty way I've treated these people in the past and all these things that I have. So I'm not worried of that. You know, maybe someday if I keep working on myself, I'll get there. And all of that unworthiness is just simply out of a sense that there's a little old me and a world out there. That's what it comes back to.
But also separate self wants to be perfect and good and, you know, pure, you know, because you can only do,
duality, the dualism, the dualistic dream. You know, the dualistic, in which you're pulling in all the positive and pushing away all the negative, because this is it and that isn't. So there's this dualistic play of opposites as a separate self that is special.
The good thing is all the negatives
good,
are showing up more. All my negative qualities, which I've been pushing it, I've been living it like fully. I was like, let's see.
Yeah.
You know, I've been really expressing all suppressed or oppressed self, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is spiritual. This is not unspiritual to be unhappy or happy or, you know, whatever. You know?
And it's what I would suggest, though, to what you're saying, or what I would add to what you're saying, is that you're not even doing that, though. You're not even doing that. That's the thing. And it's not spiritual or not spiritual, because spirituality is just a concept. It's just another idea. But I totally get what you're saying, though. I'm not contradicting what you're saying, in that I get the gist of what you're saying. Is that, for me, what you're saying there is that, well, it's everything. It's everything. It's this thing that I thought was, oh, I needed to do something about. Well, maybe that's it as well. That's what I feel. That's what I hear.
It's actually having fun with it. I'm enjoying it.
Of course. Yeah. Everything is like when it's full on aliveness then. As opposed to the idea of aliveness. Is the idea of me, that we, you know, as an individual, you're just going around this sense of how you should be, or other people should be, or life should be. It's just a model. You know. I was going to send you a message, but I see I missed you last week, so I'm more available this week anyway. I think you phoned, or a few people phoned. I missed them, but anyway, the best thing to do with the phoning also is just send an email at the same time. I often kind of get, then if I miss the call, then I'll send a message or something. Anyway, it was nice. Thanks. It wasn't anything. It was gorgeous and nothing at
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Lovely to see you, and maybe
too.
see some of you later. I'll probably have the thing on Friday, and then I'll have my meeting in Dublin. Then the people can join Saturday and Sunday. Anyway, you know the story.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. See you soon. Bye.
Yeah, it felt really amazing. It felt really, really amazing. Even my dog, when he saw me, started jumping up and down.
Yeah, you're free now, huh?
Yeah, well,
It was the beard. That's what it was.
yeah.
So it really was a loss in your case, you know. Yeah. So we had a really nice meeting this morning. It was very interesting. I'm trying to give you the gist of it. I can't really. It was just how confronting this can be, really. I think one of the participants she just put it so brilliantly. She really was attracted to what was being said in this and other communicators as well, and thought it was really amazing, and then suddenly just did not like it at all, and really disliked it and wanted nothing to do with it in a way. And for me, it was the way she put it was brilliant, but it was like it's being heard then. Actually, what's been said is being heard. But the one thing I wanted to say also is that obviously there's nothing on offer here. This is just a sharing from nothing. There's nothing to believe in. There's nothing to know. There's nothing to agree with even. And that's the essence of what's been said. It's a sharing from nothing. It's an illumination that there's just whatever is appearing to happen. And that's unknowable. That's not gettable. That's not graspable. And it's just that suggestion. And that suggestion or that illumination has an energy. It's a resonance to that. And it can be seen, and it can be that really lived sense of there being a separate you doesn't appear anymore. Possibly. Don't know. It can be that lived sense of being a you feels stronger. Who knows? So there you go. Am I recording this? I am recording this. So we're going to see, just see what happens. You know, you can't go right or wrong. There's nothing to get, there's nothing to know, there's just what's appearing to happen.
Hey, Kenneth. It's Ben.
Hi, Ben. How you, Ben?
Doing okay. So 2 days ago, my son was in a really bad skiing accident, and he's gonna be okay, but he's pretty banged up. He's in the hospital now, and just all of the that experience, and then I'm gonna be his in-laws flew out there to where it happened, and or with him and his wife, and I'm gonna go out to where they live when they move, when they fly back. And aside from kind of normal, or I don't know, normal, aside from typical parental type, you know, worries, concerns, loves, there's all sorts of like personal patterns that I see coming up, insecurities and things that seem to just occur in patterns. Like when we say it's just what appears to be happening, it's tough sometimes in that they sense that it seems like there's this pattern and this cause and effect, especially in these intense type of scenarios.
Mm.
Just wanted to express that. I don't know if there's a question or, you know, I don't know if
Yeah.
there's anything you could say or not. It's fine either
Yeah, I
way.
mean it's aliveness, it's life. Aliveness is everything. So it's being feeling safe and feeling happy, and it's absolute pain and shock and tragedy and loss and everything. It's everything. You know, anything could appear to happen. People appear to die, severe injury, all sorts of extremely undesirable things appear to happen. It's all aliveness. It's not happening to anybody. So I'm not talking about a state, or I'm not talking about you know, an experience or something that's gonna, you know, make you happy, or it's not about that at all. This is about it's a suggestion that there's actually only aliveness. There's no you that's alive. So there's only energy, and that energy appears as pain, pleasure, everything. Doesn't mean that you're gonna, you know, have to like what's happening.
I've heard some speakers or and people who don't necessarily speak on a regular basis, but comment in meetings where there doesn't appear to be a sense of a self anymore, that sometimes it appears like kind of intense emotional patterns seem to play out.
Mm.
And that is tough somehow for me to reconcile with just appearing to happen, because it keeps recurring and it keeps, well, let me rephrase that. Why does it seem that with certain people hearing this message, as there's some resonance or whatever, that difficult patterns seem to come up, emotional patterns, and need to play out or need to be felt? Or is that just another
To me,
story?
it's just a story. A need. There's no need to anything. So different people are just describing different things. So you know, there's no point listening to someone and thinking, "Oh, this is what needs to happen here." Nothing needs to happen. It's just that it's just appearing that way for that person, for that body. That's the way it is. It's a description of something. This is something very simple and ordinary. There's just aliveness. So there, from what you said, there was a shock and there's upsetness and there's let's just say pain. So that's pain. That's what's appearing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We've no idea what's going to appear to happen. We've absolutely no idea. I guess maybe we're talking about two different things, but you first came in with the accident and the very, you know, serious condition. You're going out there, and what the illumination here is that that's what's appearing to happen. That's aliveness as that. So what's been said here all the time is there's only aliveness. It appears sometimes as something that's pleasant and positive and, you know, wanted, and it also of course, also as something that's unpleasant and painful and horrible. It's all energy. That's all it is. As an individual, you want to get one and you want to push away the other. It's duality. Now, you're not in duality. You are dualism. You are duality when you feel separate as an individual, because there's life and there's you with your life. Apparently, only apparently, it's a story. So what I'm saying is, actually, when that sense of being an individual appears to drop away, it's seen it, and it was never there, and there's only aliveness then, and life, it's indescribable. It's not that it's happening to you or anybody else. It's just energy appearing to happen. And it is whatever it appears as then. Sometimes it's incredibly painful. But that sense that it's of it being good or bad, or trying to push it away or do something with it or fix it or whatever, just isn't there, because that all came from you. When you're talking about patterns, I think we might be talking about something else then.
Well, oh, thank you for that. I think that yeah, with the patterns, I guess what I'm referring to is when there's some type of triggering event. In this case, my son's injury and all the stuff that's coming out. I see what appear to be ways of reacting and feeling that have gone on in my life at various points. In other words, it seems like a pattern versus just kind of a spontaneous arising of something.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like that sounds to me like it could be just some sort of judgment or a story that's an overlay again. Like there's the shock of that phone call.
Yeah.
And the terror, that's an embodied feeling because it's your son. Like I know I have children. I don't have anything, but there's a father. I'm a father. Fathering happens. So the shock of that phone call would be a cellular, embodied fear, and a really energetic um, shock. Really, and that's all. That's what it is then.
Mm-hmm.
There's just that, and then you can all the stories, like to me, that's just ideas then, or a thought, patterns of behavior, patterns of reaction. For me, it's just, you're into concepts then, and kind of things that you've assimilated as to look for, of these are patterns of past behaviors of, and then especially when you're starting to refer to what other people say or whatever, there are no other people. Do you know what I mean? So understandably, all sorts of thoughts will arise, because it's it's not a it's an explosive situation, and emotion is full on, everything is full on. And the suggestion being made is that that's all there is. There is the whatever that appears as. There's no him, or there's no you, actually.
Mm-hmm.
There's just aliveness as that. It doesn't none of it has any meaning or significance or value, or it's not a story. It's life appearing as what you described there. And then it's the individual really who wants to know it and see patterns in it. And like, I think for me, that's more into kind of meaning and trying to get some meaning. And, it's just in the story.
Yeah.
And that's endless. Like you could piece together all sorts of stories from it. And, it's still just a story. Like, and even what you described, as full on as it is also an appearance. It's just an appearance.
Yeah.
It's real and unreal, you know.
Yep.
It's energy appearing as everything you said, a skiing accident, um, being injured, all of that stuff, everything.
Right.
You know, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to know, there's nowhere to get to. There's just boundless wholeness. And boundless wholeness is everything. Everything, of course. How could it not be? It's an unpleasant thought. It's absolute full-on pain. It's everything. So
Right.
everything just plays out like it plays out. Whereas the individual feels everything is real and I'm real and me and my life is real. So I am in control of my life. You're in control of your life. And there's something could have been different. Something should have been different. And something can be changed now. And I have to do this. Da, 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 da. And it's all a story. It's an overlay. There's no separate you there. And there never has been.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. I mean, that's funny you say that. My friend's son I just learned this morning, my friend's son was in a serious accident skiing probably 2 days ago. And I got a shock. No, I didn't anything, but there was a shock because, I mean, and that's the way it is. That's what appeared to happen. Similar to what you said, he's going to be okay, but like it could have been endgame. It could have been he could have
Yeah.
died. And if he
Yep.
did, that's what would have appeared to happen. But there's no part of that would have been in any way okay with this character. But it not being okay is irrelevant. It's energy, it's aliveness appearing as that. You know, I'm not in some sort of state here, or that it's not what this is about. I don't like. It's not like people have some idea that I love everything that's happening. I don't have any opinion. Like it doesn't matter what I think of what's happening or not happening, and I'm not here to have an opinion of what's happening, or it's just whatever's happening, and some of it is very painful. It's just indescribable, but it's the scene that there is only aliveness. There's no body who's alive. There's no separate anybody, and there's only aliveness. And then when there's only aliveness, then it's full on. It's full on aliveness, full on free fall aliveness. Anything could appear to happen. Could be really nice and enjoyable, and could be absolute, total and utter pain.
In other words, there's no escape from what is appearing to happen.
Yeah.
And the individual is looking for that escape, for fixing things and denying,
Yeah.
rejecting what is appearing to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the individual believes there's a path to
Yes.
that sort of state,
Yes.
making everything appear as we desire, as we find pleasant.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. The individual, the apparent individual, um, is moving towards what could be and what should be and what can be, and that's more favorable than what is.
Yeah.
It's like this model, yeah. And then, of course, like you say, there's a path towards that. Then it's a rejection, like what's always been yearned for is rejected in favor of what could be by the apparent individual. Yeah, in a very kind of hopeful way. It's a very hopeful energy. So a rejection of what is in favor of what could be. Yeah. Because it can always be, we can minimize the negative and maximize the positive. So this isn't it, and this is it. And we move more towards what
And
is
I
it.
don't have it yet,
And
but
I
I'm
don't,
on my way.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is until it isn't. No, that whole game of feeling separate will invariably collapse because the organism will die. So before on physical death, that whole thing just collapses, and it's seen there's never was anybody. There never was anywhere to get to. There never was a separate me. I was never born. I never lived my life, and that's all. So it's invariable. It's inevitable. But that can also collapse, appear to collapse before physical death too.
It feels like that it has this sense of agitation or separation or contraction has a an apparent effect of how everything is viewed. So there's a slight sense of everything being out of place. That's what's this satisfying. So the only thing that I can do is try to make it go back into place. So I have to move forward into the future in order to set back everything right, because everything is not right.
Mm.
It feels discontented, uncomfortable. Everything, it doesn't necessarily realize that it's that sense of solidity that gives everything this satisfactory feeling. But this longing, it feels like it comes from everywhere, where I have to continuously move forward and try to, whether it's in my life because I have this contraction, but also in a strange way, somehow the whole entire world, it doesn't seem right, whether I'm looking at a sunset or Biden winning election or whatever. It's, I have to set it right, and that's huge pressure. The solution can't, the solution has to be in the future somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and that's what's happening. And so like that, the thing about what's being suggested is there's just what's happening. There's already no individual. So the individual, or the sense of being an individual, will try and make the story work in whatever way that they can. And that's absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing right with that. There's nothing wrong with it. So it's just what appears to happen. So every character will be different with that. Some, like as you kind of described, a sense of, oh well, in the future, correct things in the future. For some people, it'll be kind of more of a moving, energetically kind of feeling of looking back the way, kind of feeling that, oh, I messed up when I took this career path. Why didn't I take that career path? Then everything would have been fine. So the agitation's almost feeling like it's going the other way. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually matter, because the story is the story, and the thoughts are the thoughts, and the sense of being separate is what it appears as.
Well, the agitation also comes from the fact that I fucked up the past. So that the only thing that I can do now is just look forward and fix it in the future. It's that, just turn on any YouTube channel with millions of subscribers and they will tell you how fix all of that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's how it is. Yeah. And that's just what's appearing to happen. There's only aliveness, and aliveness appears as whatever it appears as. So that, for instance, like one way of putting it would be that agitation is actually it, or the sense of frustration. Say there's frustration. The frustration is energy as frustration. But that's the last thing that the individual wants to hear.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it's the fucking frustration.
No.
I want you to tell me
the happy ending
under this kind of non-duality stuff, whatever it is, that the solution is not being an individual. So I want you to tell me how to not be an individual. And then, because I know that the frustration can't be it. So if I fall away like you claim to have done or whatever, then I can then not be there. Then I can not have the frustration. Of course, that's what it is. Yeah, happy ending. Yeah, and that's the last thing. No. It's not the frustration. It's not the agitation. It's not already that. Don't tell me that, because it can't be what's appearing to happen. It has to be some future idea of what's appearing to happen. So the future idea is there's no frustration, or there's no agitation.
In a way, I feel like it can be the frustration, because that's what edges me to move away from here in order to try to find it in what's next, because of this frustration.
Yeah. That's just in the loop of the individual.
Yeah.
Of course, it genuinely feels it can't be that, so I have to resolve that to get to here.
Yeah.
So it can't be, but I mean, what's yearned for is not logical, or it's not knowable. If it was logical, then it would be, it would be logic, illogic. Then it would be, it just wouldn't fit into that. Then logic would be that it can't be the frustration. So when I resolve that, then I'll be there. And as you said, that's when you get the hundreds of thousands of communications that speak directly to that. Then I had frustration like you. I went off and I did self-inquiry, and I meditated in a cave for 10 years, and but you don't have to, because I figured out this really cool hack to bring it all down to 10 days. And if you subscribe to my multi-level marketing scheme, you know, I'll get you there or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's the way it is. And that's it's way more, it's infinitely more appealing than what's been said here. And it's never ever ever what you think it is. So the individual has an idea of what, of a thing called non-duality or whatever's being suggested here. It can't be that. You know, you can know this subject inside out. It doesn't make any difference at all. It's completely, totally, and utterly unknowable and ungraspable. It's too simple. It's too ordinary. It's too directly whatever is appearing to happen. The nice phone call, a friend catching up, and the horrendous phone call that we referred to earlier. Get here quick, you know. Get here quick, time is short, or else don't, there's no need to get here. It's over, it's all over. You know, they're dead, it's gone. We're all gonna have this at some point. If we don't have it, we're the ones who are the subject of that conversation. And if you're the subject of that conversation, then it's liberation, isn't it? We like to, as an individual, we're moving in this, we're apparently, because we're not, because there is no individual, but we're in this loop of knowing of ourselves that is feels like it's separate to the world, and there's, because it's me with my life and aliveness. So we live in that knowing, and we protect ourselves through knowing, and we pull in comfort, knowledge, and we push away discomfort and pain, and it maintains this apparent reality of the world outside of me. And it's a half alive thing. It's a half alive, it's a dissatisfying. And you know, things might seem to go swimmingly, and you got the right job, you know, you're happy, you're eating your greens, you're doing your intermittent fasting, your relationships are great, everything is going really well, and it feels like it's all just, you know, gravy. And then bang, you get that phone call. You know, so our realities will collapse at some point. And one thing about death is, that's the one thing about death, is it completely shatters your reality, and the reality, the sense that you have control and other people have control. It's very explosive. And it's pain, and pain is absolute pain doesn't really leave much room for you, in a way. It's a bit of a story too, but I mean, we're continually being shown that we have no control whatsoever. It's a complete dream that you have a life and you have control over your life.
Just to that story recently, I like to go to a Russian sauna that is near me, and the owner of that, you know, he owned multiple businesses. We're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars, and he had two daughters and a son. And one of the daughters that just got married at 30 something had I'm forgetting, like some kind of cancer of her stomach. She was dead in a couple of months, and then the other daughter overdosed 2 months after that and died.
Mm.
It's just exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was so sad because I haven't gone in a while, and I one of the son obviously runs the place, and he seemed, I thought he was just angry. He probably is angry with life, and I didn't know. I hadn't discovered until a couple of weeks later that what had happened. Then it all made sense why he carried that energy in his body.
Oh yeah, man. That's, I mean, how you can't imagine that either.
Huh.
You know, you can't imagine. um, uh, for me, it's the thought of, as a father, you can't imagine one of your kids dying. You can't imagine. You can't even allow, like, you just can't even follow that thought. You can't even develop that thought in your mind. And if you did develop that line of thinking, it's not you. It's not one of your kids dying. It's not. It's an idea. So somebody dying like that is, it's explosive. It's totally explosive and reality shattering. But the invitation is always there to see that there's no loss, because there's absolutely no loss, because there is nobody who's being lost, because what appeared as that person you love is energy, aliveness as that person, and all there is aliveness. Nobody goes anywhere, you know. But like, that doesn't, that's not a shortcut around the pain, you know. I've seen people trying to get a shortcut around the pain, and it just doesn't work.
Well, it's gonna come out either way at one
Yeah,
point.
yeah. It's, you can't, there's no shortcut around the pain. I mean, that's a very, that's spoke, there's books written about this, and if you're to go into that area of things, of grief and bereavement, and it's very well written about. There's no shortcut, man. And that's what you see then, is people in bereavement, they'll bury themselves in a project, or they'll get busy with work, or they'll do something, and they'll be okay for a year or a year and a half, and then they'll fucking fall apart, completely fall apart, because they were trying to get a shortcut around it, thinking, you know. And there is just no short, it's just, and that's what I mean when I say it's full on aliveness. It's complete full on aliveness. That's what this is, full on aliveness. That's what it is, because that's all there is wholeness, full on aliveness, appearing as frustration, appearing as whatever is appearing. But when you feel it's your aliveness, then there can be this buffer zone almost of you knowing it, and managing it and controlling and all of this, and then that's going to collapse one way or the other at some point. And that's a half alive feeling, because it's you who's alive, and then I'm in that knowing, you know. And I can have all sorts of theories of, concepts of this and that and the other and blah blah blah, you know, and none of it's right or wrong. It's just what's appearing to happen. Incredibly, none of us were born, none of us will live our lives, and none of us will die. In this story, it appears that we will. It appears that we are born and we have a life, and then we die, and then that's a narrative, that's a story, or it's an appearance. Another way of putting it also is, there's actually no such thing as death, you know, because there's not this thing called life, and then this other different black blobby thing called death.
Nothing
Only
is born.
nothing is which?
Nothing is born. Nothing comes alive.
No, nothing. No, there's not even a start or an end to anything. You know, nothing is everything, and everything is nothing, which is completely beyond our understanding. But as in, when you feel that you have a life, it's duality, and one of the fundamentals, or the fundamental duality, is aliveness and you who's alive. So there's a thing called life and a thing called death, a different thing called death, and we all kind of conceptualize it differently, but we all kind of shudder at the thought of it, and it seems like this black nothingness. And there is no thing called death, just as there's no thing called life. It's not two. Nothing is everything, everything is nothing. So there's nothing that's alive and then dies. It's just an appearance. It appears that way.
I think because nothing comes alive is why it can be a relief even for a second when the glimpse happens, that the fear of death that is carried within the body sort of drops away for a moment.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So if nothing comes alive, therefore nothing dies. But then what happens, I think, from that, at least I would say from my perspective, is then that was thought that, there's just a foreverness, or just no death means a constant continuation.
Yeah, it's just an idea. Yeah, it's just an idea. It can only
Well,
be
that's
a concept.
the
Yeah.
only way that me can think.
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, that's what this is about. Is you say whatever, and you can't even go wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying that you're wrong, because you're not.
Yeah.
It's not about right or wrong. It's just it's the illumination that no matter what you conceptualize about it or think about it, that it is just that. Then it's just another idea, and it doesn't matter.
That eternity that Joey was talking about, that forever feeling of being forever, it's also nothing.
Yeah.
So there's eternity and nothing at the same time.
Yeah, and everything is nothing.
Yeah.
So this is nothing appearing to have a conversation about nothing.
And I'm really fascinated about this sleep and wakefulness states. It's incredible how we love to go to sleep, to have a good rest, and we don't know what's going on in our sleep.
Yeah, this actually, funny, they know very little about sleep, really, and deep sleep, and they'll tell you that. When I say they, I suppose I'm referring to scientists and all that.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. Yeah, I find it interesting too.
Because that feeling of me, of being an individual, is totally gone for the duration of the sleep.
And in the deep sleep it is, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
In the deep sleep, in the REM sleep, it's kind of a dance between in your unconscious, really, and it's I think it's like, my understanding is, it's like it's just a function of information processing.
Yeah,
It's an information processor, and in that way, that's why it can be more intuitively accurate than your logical mind, actually. So it's
Yeah.
quite interesting in that way. But I don't know much about it either. I know very, very little, but I do find it interesting. And I do, my feeling is that in deep sleep, it's like an off switch that for the apparent individual, it's like this energetically, it would almost just get too much. And so because you're dead effectively in deep sleep, you're just not there. And then you kind of reboot it again. It
Yeah.
seems like that, yeah.
But yet people don't seem to look at that and as a pointer or question it in any way. It's just taken
Oh,
as such.
totally, yeah, completely. But like, I mean,
We ignore everything.
yeah, but like, I mean, there's a presupposition that there is an individual, even like, I mean, this everything comes back to there's a you that has a life who has free will. I mean, if you look at YouTube now, it's full of people saying you don't have, obviously is no such thing as free will. There can't be. But it all, like the whole story is all directed towards this individual, and there is no individual. So when you start to, the whole thing collapses. If you look at people are deeply, deeply asleep in the sense that they're just lost in narrative. They're lost in a dualistic dream of good guy, bad guy, this, that, and a dream in which there's some authority that will mind them and look after them and keep them safe. So they're just very malleable and asleep. That's just the way it is.
And the
It's not
story, as
right
you
or
say,
wrong.
good guy, bad guy, it's usually centered around the individual, but also around the species. Is like nothing else matters but the humans.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
of course, yeah, because
they're better.
fundamentally there's the earth and there's nature and there's the planet and there's us.
Yeah.
Like
So
what an
everything is out there
incredible
to support
ignorance.
us,
And
right?
what'd you say?
Everything is out there to support us, you
Yes,
know.
of
We're
course. Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're gonna save, how lovely of us. We're gonna save the planet. Isn't that,
yeah.
aren't we really? I mean, it's such an arrogance and ignorance. It's just mind blowing. But yeah, it's a play of light. It's all a play of light, you know. Yeah.
And people don't want to be extracted from their stories. It's like
Oh,
there's
it's death. You know, when we were talking about death, you know, a lot of this Zoom apparently, and to be shown to be wrong is death. It's more or less the same thing, because you are living in your own knowing. So you would rather die than it be illuminated that your concept of who of this or that is not. And that's why you see this polarization of people trying to get rid of the other, terminate the other, because I'm right, so I can just cancel you out of reality because I'm right. That's what you see. Overpowering of the other, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's just incredible, and it's all a play of light. Who knows what's going to appear to happen?